Okay, thank you for joining us in part two of our discussion about teacher demoralization versus teacher burnout. And at the end of part one, Asma was talking about her frustrations as a teacher as they relate to the COVID-19 pandemic and how we've changed how we do the grades and just how the students are responding. So take it away, Asma.
Okay, so hi again. One of the things that I noticed as soon as the governor gave the word, there's going to be pass, like if they pass, they were going to pass on or whatever. The students immediately came to the teachers and they were like, "Do we still have to do stuff? Are we passing? Am I going to pass anyway?" And I feel like we have to give them more credit than we're giving them because they have access to everything at their fingertips.
Yep.
They see everything that we see.
Yep.
They hear everything we hear.
Yep.
And I feel like teaching has stayed the same for so long that we've never changed the system to go along with that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is if students are so quick to be able to, I'm losing my train of thought. If students are if students can find out stuff exactly when I find out stuff. I mean, I'm all for transparency. I really am. I feel like students
Absolutely.
should know policies.
Absolutely.
Students should know their rights.
Absolutely.
But I feel like if students are telling me in class, when we were in class, "Miss, you have to let us redo this because it's a school policy. I get 2 weeks to redo it," and blah 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 blah. You take away what they're supposed to be learning, and you're giving them this robotic sense of self, and they're just like, "Well, I have 2 weeks to do this. I'm going to look online. I'm going to figure out how to do it better," and I'm all for them using their resources. I am. I'm all for them learning in the way that they are best capable. But I feel like we're draining out the humanity in our students by not transforming with them.
Yep.
And I feel like we need to find it better.
Absolutely. Here we are. We just want to share information. We want to share knowledge. We want to have them think about it. We want to see them grow as thinkers, as lifelong learners and stuff. And yeah, these concerns, whether they're policy with the grading system or whether they're the technology making learning harder because it's become too easy to like find the stuff somewhere else. Yeah, again, one demoralization isn't enough to do anything, but you put together a few of them and stuff, and it can create and lead to burnout. And it's like, yes, we do want students to use the technology and to use it in a way that best suits them as learners. But if we're not trying to come up with ways to better use the technology and show them how to do it, then we run into these problems, and it's incredibly frustrating to deal with.
Right. And I think something that I'd like to also point out, when I was in school, I thought my teachers knew it all. Like, I was like, there's nothing they don't know. They know all of this stuff. But as I'm a teacher, I'm like, there's so much that I don't know. I don't know any of this stuff. And I don't know if it's because I'm a new teacher and I'm just like trying to figure out the best way to do things in my classroom or what. But I feel like there's a lot of things that I wish I knew so I could help them.
I was going to say, I don't think it's just because you're a new teacher. I still feel that way so much of the time. I feel like a pretender, and I'm still figuring it out. And how many times, because of how quickly things change, it's like, okay, I've been here 14 years now, and I'm still figuring things out. Like, I don't have set lesson plans. I don't, because I think that would be demoralizing. That could lead to burnout if I just had to do X, Y, and Z, or if I just followed my own darn lesson plans every year. If I'm not reinventing them in ways to try and reach the students because they're changing just like the rest of the world so quickly, it gets really, really stressful.
Right. Um, Another thing that I also noticed, though, is I had a live meet with my students a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling them, how much they've taught me. And one of my students goes, wait, what do you mean we've taught you things? And I was like, yeah, you guys have helped me learn a lot about myself and about how to be a better teacher. And they're like, what do you mean? You're the teacher. We're not supposed to be teaching you things. And I feel like because they've been told for so long, you're the student, you can't teach me anything, I'm supposed to teach you stuff, they get it in their head that they're sort of just there to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And as a human, that's not realistic. I mean, I've learned a lot of lessons from different students,
right.
Whether it be about myself or about their perspective that's opened up my mind to a different perspective. I feel like they need to know that they're there so that we can help them learn things, but at the same time, they're valuable as their own thinkers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yes, that's why I don't like the system that kind of makes them think that they're just there to get a good grade, to get a score on the test, to get into college, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Actually, that's okay. That's as good a segue as we're going to get for the last thing I wanted to talk about. The difference in the terminology. The word burnout suggests the individual as it is at fault, and it's not really about a system thing. Like if a teacher is a burnout, it is the teacher's fault. He or she couldn't hack it, didn't have enough grit, didn't have the perseverance, stuff like that. It's just their fault. Whereas if you just say, I'm demoralized, while it is a depressing term to say it's not good, there's room for improvement.
Doesn't sound any better.
Right. I say it's like you're demoralized. Okay, you can be remoralized. You can be brought up. And just burnt out puts all the onus on the individual. It is totally their fault, and it ignores all the systemic stuff that you and I have talked about: society, the admin, the policy, the parents, the testing. And none of
that comes into play.
Right, and so I don't know. I hadn't really, even as an English teacher, you'd like to think that I had thought of this and thought of all the nuances of the word. I have just, again, I haven't really felt burnout. I've definitely felt demoralized, but I have heard teachers say they're burnout, and I have kind of seen cases of that, and I kind of am thinking maybe if we didn't use the word burnout, which just probably makes the individual feel worse because it, at least on a subconscious level, it probably internalizes it and says, I am at fault, instead of recognizing that there's lots of faults for these situations to spread all around, and we should be talking about solutions, say, for how to get back and become reinvigorated in the job and profession and the life that we chose, that we love so darn much.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like if we change the way that we say things, I mean, words matter, and the things that we say matter, and the way that we say things matter. If we just change how we say things, then that's already part of the battle won.
We have to talk about it in terms of, I actually, as I read, I kind of likened it to racism. And racist, if we just acknowledge a racist individual, okay, I get it that one person has a problem with others who look different from him or her, but when I talk about racism, I'm not just talking about one group favoring one group over another. I'm talking about on a systemic level, a system that creates a world where one group is held above another. And we shouldn't just be talking about whether one person is racist or not. We should be talking about it on a much grander scale to dismantle an inherently evil system, much like, if we bring it back to teaching and stuff like that, if we just talk about teacher burnout, we're pretending that there isn't a systemic problem. We're just putting it all on the one individual teacher who gets demoralized to the point where they stop and they just stop caring and they can't get back to where they want to be.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I feel like there's things that can be done, and we just need to figure out how we can do them.
How to talk about them, how to use the right vocabulary to talk about them. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much for listening to the conversation. Hope you enjoyed it.